In this video, I'm going to talk about 6 mistakes that popular managers who are loved by their team make that can hold back their careers. These are invisible mistakes. Most of these behaviors might even be considered like good behaviors. Some people might be proud of them. I definitely was. So they can go for ages because the damage is not visible. And only after years that manager might say, oh, I did everything right. Why am I struggling? And I'm also going to share some stories, some from my own career, because I also used to be a manager in corporate supply chain management. And I definitely have my own share of mistakes and also client stories, people I have coached and have seen behind the scenes of their leadership stories. I'm not against training and reading. I've done a lot of training myself. I'm always in some sort of training. There is no day I don't do any reading. I'm not against it. You all have to read, learn, get trained. But training and accumulating knowledge can become a trap on its own and cover up for procrastination, avoiding real action. And mostly people from science, tech, engineering backgrounds, these are also the people I work with most of the time, they are so used to this process of doing a lot of certification, a lot of education, because the type of work they need to do needs certain level of rigor and credential. For example, you do not need to go to university for marketing because what you will do is not going to hurt people's lives, but you must do if you want to be a doctor, if you want to be an engineer. So you see, these people, these technical people, scientists, engineers, tech professionals, they see everything from the lens of knowledge and logic. And when they have a problem, when they feel stuck in life, their intuition, their instinct is that I have to go do another training program. I need to do a leadership development training program because my team doesn't seem to respect me, or I ramble a lot. I need to take a communication course. I need to buy these books everyone is talking about. And they want to solve all the problems by collecting knowledge. I also see clients come to me after months of reading everything, taking courses, sometimes years actually, listening to all these podcasts and talking to AI as a coach or therapist. I do that too. Nothing wrong with it as long as you're careful. They come to me, tell me how much information they have collected, but then it seems nothing or not much has changed in their lives because they have not integrated the knowledge in the form of action. And action needs courage. It takes getting out of your comfort zone. Something is very difficult to do it. So because when you collect a lot of knowledge, but you do not know where your problem is, you have not addressed the root cause of your problem. And it's like you have a health problem, you have a health issue, and instead of going to the doctor, you get a medical degree. You go to university, study medicine, which takes years. Hopefully your problem is not serious enough so you could survive. But you could simply go to a doctor and they could examine and diagnose you and then look into the right solution. A human who is trained professionally in the field you're struggling, your career, it could be legal topic, it could be your life, marriage, whatever, can show you your blind spot and invisible hidden problems and help you resolve them in an effective, practical way. It could be a therapist, it could be a life coach, it could be leadership, career coach, leadership advisor, like what I do. I could also understand why a lot of people talk to AI as their coach. The reason is a lot of people have shame around certain problems, and it is a bit too vulnerable as a highly educated, experienced person to bring your dirty laundry to another person. You would fear you would be judged, and it is hard. It takes a lot of courage to talk about something you might have some shame, guilt, or regret around. You want to understand your own unique way as a human to detect problems, to recognize patterns, to think clearly, and you already have that within you. It is just hidden under so many layers of patterns and information and other people's ideas. And if you really want to change, you need to do what high achievers and champions do. And high achievers who really want results, they all have coaches and advisors. They do not do it alone. And I'm not saying this as a coach. I'm also a client of a lot of coaches. This is how it works. You just can't find a shortcut around it. This is how it has worked throughout human history. So if you're avoiding this, then maybe there is something deeper within you that needs healing. So what are you avoiding? And why is facing yourself so challenging and so difficult? Or maybe you could ask yourself, what could you do about it? Where can you start to get help on this? So integration instead of information, because you probably have too much information. You cannot solve problems you do not know you have. Coach can help you see your blind spots, show you where the root cause of your problem actually is, because most of the time people, when they book a call with me and I ask them, okay, what brings you here? They share about a problem, what they think is a problem. But in reality, that is just a symptom of some other problem they don't even know they have. So when people book a discovery call with me to explore working with me, we look into the root cause of the problem, the problem behind the problem. And you can find the link below in the description if you're interested in booking a call with me. Maybe you have heard about the helicopter parents. A helicopter parent is an overprotective and overly involved caregiver who hovers closely overhead, supervising, controlling every aspect of a child's life, schoolwork, I don't know, their friends, social interactions, everything. Helicopter team leaders are the same with their team. These are the very kind, supportive team leaders with such a big heart for the team, constantly wanting to protect them. And we already addressed that in one of my previous videos. When you have this overprotective behavior, you sometimes underestimate your team's capacity to think, to decide. And also you underestimate their autonomy. You might think you're doing them a favor by protecting them from danger, but you're actually denying them their autonomy, their decision-making capacity, and you're making the team dependent on yourself. I've talked about this in detail in that video, so please go watch that video. Overly protective team leaders usually get burnt out at some point because there is just so much to carry. They want to solve all the problems of people around them themselves. It is coming from a kind place, a compassionate place, but some pattern from the past make them just see the weakness of people and not their resourcefulness, and underestimating how people can actually handle their problems. So they want to take care of everything, like a father or mother figure to their team, but being a selfless team leader who is taking care of everyone's emotion is not only bad for the team leader, but it's also bad for the team. Because if you're too overprotective, you might also lose a lot of reach and influence and gravitas with the higher level management, because your energy has gone to your team most of the time. You probably haven't really had much space left to reflect on your relationship with other levels of the organization. Conflict avoidance is one of the biggest blocks in leadership growth. And it is especially common among individuals who find it hard to face big emotions or crises or fights or any sort of big disagreement, or even other people challenging each other. We need to allow people to have their big emotions. Humans are given a range of emotions to experience, and all these emotions are necessary. We have learned to label anger, sadness, disappointment as negative because they are uncomfortable for us. We also don't like to observe other people experience those emotions because we experience it with them. But it's okay to let people have their anger, sadness, disappointment, feel whatever emotion they are feeling. And even if those emotions don't make sense to us. And unfortunately, some people are not able to manage their anger, the big emotions in healthy ways. So they can become dangerous to others. I understand that. That's a different story with, securing safety. But even in those cases, you cannot constantly hide reality to stop their anger. I had a client. She was a scientist working for one of the big pharma companies in Switzerland. And when we started working together, the first thing she shared proudly about her values, just getting to know each other. And she said, my main value is harmony. She wanted harmony in the world, harmony in the team. She wanted to create peace everywhere. And harmony was one of the themes behind most of the conversations we had, which was so beautiful. But when we did more work together, it became clear that because of this love for harmony, she's avoiding conflict. She's avoiding difficult conversations, scary conversations, and important conversations. Worrying about the emotions caused by those conversations. Like, what if this person gets angry? What if this person gets upset? So if you want to have some kind of leadership or business career, you also need to be seen as capable of having difficult conversations. being okay not to be liked sometimes. This was a very hard thing for me. It's still sometimes quite harsh to know that some people don't really like the way you're working, but it is what it is. And as long as you're grounded in your ethical values, you know this is the right thing, then this is your decision. This is how you move on. And difficult decisions, you cannot avoid them in business. Sometimes you have to terminate contracts, let go of team members, fire people, bring the bad news, etc. This is more of a blind spot and like a topic of prioritization rather than a mistake, I would say. But, that's also one of the areas things go wrong. I talk to a lot of mid-level managers, and the first topic they always bring up is, I want to have a high-performing team. I want to be a good coach to my team. How can I increase the morale in my team? How can I have an engaged team? They think all of the problems are because of the team. And they're so absorbed with the idea of managing their team, get the best out of the people. They have little room left to focus on other priorities, such as their peers, like other managers on their level, and like other colleagues, and their relationships with senior management. And you cannot lose sight of that, because it is not just about your team performance. It's also about your career, your future in this company or somewhere else. So it's actually something I was totally blind to for so many years. It could be that you work in situations where you're very short on capacity. I especially see that a lot in supply chain functions, always so much to do. The budget often goes to sales and marketing. Team is burnt out, need more headcounts, they need more resources, but there's no budget. The company doesn't really understand supply chain functions, especially like in mid-sized corporations. They don't really know what this function does. Their work conditions are not as easy. It doesn't allow them to do a good job, and creates a lot of stress for them. And unfortunately, what happens is that being at capacity and nearly burnt out is something, especially if you've complained about it a lot, sends the signal that you cannot handle more. You're not ready for higher stake leadership roles. It's really unfair, but it happens a lot. People who work in supply chain management are often smart and resilient and great crisis managers, great at relationships and conflict resolution, great negotiators, and these are skills on top of their technical knowledge in their field. But look at C-levels, how many people you see from supply chain backgrounds. This is partially, I think, because of this. Of course, it has a lot of reasons, but lack of time and space for growth is definitely a topic among the supply chain professionals. It sends a signal that their skills in terms of productivity, maybe it's not so good, or they're not ready for a promotion to a leadership role, because if they cannot handle this, they probably cannot handle that leadership role, which is not true actually, and is unfair, but it happens. So you really want to be very careful how the senior management will perceive you, how you treat this situation of having a lot of work to do. I have a free guide. You can download it for free, a guide about creating time and space for growth. This is especially designed for busy, overworked managers in survival mode, so check it out. It sounds a bit of a cliche, but it's also very common. Forgetting or underestimating vision and values is very common among middle managers. Often when I ask managers about their vision and their values, they have an answer, but they also often tell me like, okay, what's the point? Who cares about my vision? I'm right in the middle, I'm working for this company and it's their vision and values I need to work towards. Middle managers spend most of the time interpreting the organizational vision and values into team vision and values, and they sometimes lose their own identity and values and vision in the identity of the company and the expectations of the senior managers. They prioritize company's vision and values over theirs, and especially in cases where there is misalignment between their vision and values and their employers, this can create challenges like burnt out, depression, or mental health issues. Most of the burnout topics, they don't happen because the person had so much to do. It happens because the person was put in a situation that their values was constantly being challenged, and they were in total misalignment with who they are and how they want to live. So if you want to be a leader, you especially need to be clear about your vision and your values as a human. As a leader, first you have to lead yourself, lead your career, then others. You'll be faced with many situations where you have to make decisions without information. When the situation is uncertain, you cannot just rely on plans. We live in a VUCA world. VUCA is an acronym for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. So we're living in this turbulent, fast-changing modern world where plans fail easily. What really helps in those situations is if you have an internal compass, if your intuition that tells you the right and wrong, and if you have a vision for yourself, if you know what your values are, because that would be the only thing you have in some situations, especially if you're faced with ethical dilemmas. So it's very important to have something for you. You cannot just rely on the company for everything. You really need to build that within yourself. That's part of your humanity. And also, it's not just about the job. It is also about your career. You need to be very clear about who you are, where you stand within the organizational system of your employer. And if that system and that culture can truly support your vision, or is it time for you to part ways and move to a different system? Are you making any of these mistakes? Or any of these situations I described resonate with you? I would love to hear from you. And of course, if you're at a stage where you want to work with a coach that can help you achieve your leadership goals, your career goals, use this link in the description, book a call with me, and let's see if I'm the right person to help you, or actually if you need a coach at all. In the next video, I will talk more about the mindset, identity, and behavioral shifts one needs to make to go from overworked manager in survival mode to trusted leader ready for more in practical ways by sharing some client stories. And the link is on the screen and in the description. See you soon.